Don't touch anything that doesn't belong to you. The voice was deep, angry, and when John looked up, he saw it belonged to a swarthy man who held a very long flintlock musket. Welcome, stranger. I'm Moore, and this is my island, the dark-skinned man said. Hi, Moore. I'm John, he said, remembering his manners. The man shook his head. No. Not Moore. He rested the musket on his shoulder, with the barrel pointed in the sky. What to say? Think of it like this. How much do I have? And he looked right at John, his eyes daring John to say something. When John remained silent, the man concluded with, I have more than you. More, John attempted. No, more. The man glared at John. John couldn't tell if the stretched out O sound was purely so the man could vie for attention, or if the name was really some overzealous pile of vowels. He decided to try to mimic the man and said, More. The man shook his head. Not that much. More. More, John said. Close enough. The man, calling himself Moore, walked closer to John. It's been forever since I've had company, he said. Hey, you don't say, John's mom said rhetorically. Moore stared at her. The conversation lulled into silence that became increasingly awkward, only for Moore to break the silence with a jovial, May I offer you some tea? I like tea, John said. His dad often extolled the virtues of tea, and John glanced at his mom, who merely shrugged. Excellent. Moore clapped his hands together. This way, this way. He pointed along the path leading further inland. John was surprised that there was even more stuff along the path than they had previously seen. Giant mirrors, clothing dressers, racks, and dozens of hats. What John could only imagine was more than a mile of rope, and particularly a set of stone walls that seemed to mark the boundary of some physical structure. Stuff was more tightly packed on the other side of the wall, and as John looked behind himself, he couldn't help but think of the junk as spilling out over the wall like stuff overflowing out of his closet back home. Welcome to my riad, Moore said as they crossed past the stone wall. He took off his sandals, and then he coughed and he pointed to the sign that said, No shoes inside. John looked up and down the path. It was dirt and crabgrass. He kind of wanted to keep his shoes on. He looked up. He saw that it had sails for a ceiling. The only indication that they'd gone inside anywhere was that one open-topped wall. Amen. Moore cleared his throat. John knelt and untied his Converse sneakers. He placed them next to Moore's slippers, and when he stood, he saw his mom hadn't even made the slightest motion to remove her boots. Mom, take off your shoes, John whispered. She looked at Moore, who didn't react. She looked back to John, who continued his pleading stare. He could help. Fine. Mom knelt and unbuckled her boots. When she slipped off the first one, John saw how bad his mom's feet were. The bad shape. The skin was rubbed raw and blistering in several places. In others, her feet seemed calloused like barnacles of hardness. This way, Moore gestured to an open area clear of vegetation. Please, come. John and his mom followed Moore deeper into the twisting labyrinth of stuff. There were fans, spittoons, urns, things John didn't even recognize. He stepped next to his mom and he whispered to her. It's like that show, Hoarder's Nightmare, John said. What show is that? His mom asked. Well, it's about people with so much stuff they can't even walk through their house. John followed Moore around another corner made by stacked furniture. They'd love this guy, his mom said, her head tilting towards her shoulder. Moore led them through enough twists and turns that John didn't think he'd be able to find his way back out. Their destination was a combination of kitchen and dining room. One large table was flanked by a dozen chairs, while in the corner, a freestanding stove crackled with a fire burning within. The source of the smoke, John thought. Moore propped the musket next to the stove, and he prepared some tea. He poured a cup for each of the three of them. This is Marguerite. It's a sweet mint tea. It's very good. You like? John took a sip. The name of it. The name said it all. A sweet honey taste, crisp mint flavor, mild green tea. The three of them sat and exchanged glances as they sipped on the steaming tea. So, Moore said, what brings you to me? Bring you? What? What you bring me? Bring you. What did we bring you? It's customary to bring a gift when you visit. John glanced down. He didn't have anything on him that would count as a decent gift. Every time? He asked, worried. Yes, every time. Moore furrowed his brow. His grin became a tight-lipped glower. I have invited you in, and I have given you tea. But you bring no gift. What kind of himinji are you? John glanced at his mom for clarification. She merely shrugged, and John looked back at Moore with a questioning expression. Moore pointed to a sign. Failure to bring a gift is asking for bad luck and very unwelcome. That seems like an oddly specific sign, John said. Would you prefer to just say, bad luck is bad? No, I guess not, John said, feeling foolish for questioning the sign in the first place. Moore made a fluttering motion with his fingers. Bad manners aside, to what do I owe the great honor of having you as my guests? We're looking for a treasure chest, John said with an automatic earnestness. Moore stood from the table and eyed him with squinted, suspicious eyes. John, his mom whispered, moving her hand horizontally across her chin as if to tell John to cut it out. It's a big island, John thought. We're going to need his help. He dug in his pocket for the printout of the treasure chest, and he found a hard lump in his pocket. The wash! John groaned and pulled the lump out, seeing that the printed page had turned into a clump of white paper. What's that? Moore asked. Well, it was a picture, John said, and then he corrected himself. It was a painting of a treasure chest. The chest we need. The chest is empty, though. And my portrait went through the wash. You let a painting go through the wash? Moore asked. Well, it was a picture. Then he corrected himself again. Yes, the painting. Yes, I forgot it was in my pocket. How could you be so careless with something so valuable? Gosh, I should have taken it out, John thought, and then he blurted, I can always print another. Print? What is this print? John kept his eye on his mom, who gave him a subtle head shake no. Never mind. Anyways, the treasure chest. As soon as he said treasure, Moore squinted his eyes again. His left eye began to twitch, and he took a step away from the table. The man's lip quivered at the edge. The hint of a snarl began to form. I don't want the treasure, if there is treasure in it. I think it's empty, though. I just want the chest, John said, remembering Blackbird's reaction to the same statement. Maybe this would put him at ease, John thought. Just the chest. Yes, it's Spanish style. It has a starburst on the front. Never heard of it. John thought, I think he's lying. Are you sure? Dark brown wood, iron hinges, nothing valuable about it. Moore kept his arms crossed. As he turned away from John, he walked away from the table, shaking his head back and forth. His lips moved as he talked to himself under his breath. John strained to hear, but only mutters reached his ears. Moore paused next to the flintlock musket. What if I bring you a gift, and I trade you the gift for the chest? Moore spun around. What kind of gift? Chapter 24, Remembering with Your Heart. John tried to guess what kind of gift would impress a man with so much stuff as Moore. Art, furniture, Electronics? John had enough trouble trying to figure out what to get his dad for Christmas. Picking the gift for a stranger seemed impossible. John settled for a simple, "We have a lot of amazing cargo on the Dragon of Plunder. I'm sure I can find you a worthy gift." John assumed the hurricane destroyed most of the cargo aboard the Dragon of Plunder. He could always return home and find something to bring back. "John," his mom's dark eyes stared unblinkingly at him. "Yeah. Don't go making promises we can't keep. We'll find something good." "We'll find something good," he told Moore after whispering it to his mom. Then he looked back at his mom and finished with, "Trust me, Mom." Moore led them out of the labyrinth of goods and along the way, and John heard a distant squawk. "What was that?" John stopped. "That's my bird," Moore said. "What kind of bird?" John asked. "It's a parrot." "The captain of our ship just lost his parrot." "Oh, this one I've had for some time." Again, Moore looked anywhere except at John. The bird squawked again. This time it looked at John, and this time John was sure it looked at him, and he heard a distant, "Cabin boy," the first thing the bird had said. Moore's lying again. John wanted to demand the truth, but they needed the treasure chest. Making an enemy of Moore would only keep his mom from going home. "Sorry, Blackbird," John thought. At the wall that marked the end of the initial structure, John and his mom put their shoes back on. "I have a great desire to see what you're going to bring me," Moore said. "Is there anything you'd like most?" John asked. "Surprises." Great. Picking a present wasn't going to get easy anytime soon. He and his mom walked past the piles of stuff that spilled beyond the walls. Once John was sure he was out of range of prying ears, John whispered to his mom, "He stole Blackbird's parrot." "You can't know that, John. It was calling out for me. Didn't you hear it? It said cabin boy." "You might be imagining things." "I didn't, Mom. I swear that's Blackbird's parrot." "What do you want to do? Trade for the bird or trade for the chest?" "I want to trade for the chest, Mom." But betraying Blackbird felt like something that made John miserable. He wished he could help more. As much as he wanted his mom back more than anything, he was also becoming friends with the crew of the Dragon of Plunder. "We're even assuming he has the chest," his mom said. "You saw how he acted, Mom. You know he has the chest," John said. "What could we possibly have to trade for it?" his mom asked. "Maybe something he's never seen, like a video player." "No, nothing from the future. We can't ruin history," his mom said. "Okay, well then something scarce, gold or..." "How are you going to get gold?" she asked. "Maybe some of your old jewelry." His mom laughed. "Pirates have plenty of gold. We need something exotic." John thought about the storyteller, the witch from his neighborhood. She'd have something exotic for sure. "Mom, leave it to me."